LGBTQ youth continue to challenge the concept of family. I broke bread with 3 young activists who shared how and why family can mean more than just blood. Hey, I'm in Vegas and I'm having dinner with 3 phenomenal young people who call Vegas home. So thank you for being here. If you could just introduce yourself really quickly, your name and your pronouns.
My name's Christina. I'm 16 and I'm born and raised in Vegas. I am queer femme identified, so I actually transitioned when I was 11 years old. I have spent the last 5 years of my life really just devoting everything to advocacy within the Clark County School District, which is our school district out here. I'm also a youth advocate with Gender Justice Nevada, which is a Las Vegas-based nonprofit out here. So I do a lot of work through them, and I just really happy to be here, so it's really nice to meet you.
And what are your pronouns?
All my pronouns are she and they.
Awesome.
Hi, my name is Alan Cruz. I'm 17. I'll be 18 in 2 more days.
Oh, wow.
My pronouns are he, him, his, and they, them, theirs. I recently got involved in advocacy around queerness and for youth, specifically with Advocates for Youth. My work is more based on youth empowerment. I co-founded an international organization called Ground One, in which we work with young people from all over the world to offer them resources to essentially give them the chance to sort of execute change within their own communities, and I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome.
I'm Lily. I'm 14. My pronouns are she and they. I'm a high school freshman and I am queer identifying. I'm biracial. I identify as Black though. And I'm just really happy to be here, so thank you for having me.
So we're here to talk about like family and queer identity. So what comes to mind when you hear the word family?
When I hear family, I think of the difference between family and blood. And for me, family is people who care about you and are there for you and respect you and show you dignity and are there when you need someone and hurt when you're hurting. And then blood is just the people who are genetically related to you and they may or may not be family to you.
Family isn't really always blood for me, and it hasn't really been that in my own life. My family has really been people that I've created a big environment around that really support me and really get me. Through the organization that I've been a part of, which is Gender Justice, I've started groups. So we do a parent group for parents of sex gender diverse kids, and we do a youth group. So I've met a lot of what I really consider family through that group, and it's just been a really great environment for me. I consider people within the sex gender diverse community to be really more of my family than really my own blood family, as really that I don't really have the best relationship with them.
I was lucky to have a mother who was really, really supportive. She didn't necessarily have access to language because this is a couple of years ago. You don't need to know my real age. But it definitely helped to cultivate how I see myself, but also how I defended myself. Because, the world can be a very cruel place that can trick you into believing the stories that the world has of you. And now I'm a father of a 16-year-old, so now I'm a queer father of a 16-year-old, and hopefully am doing the same thing and providing the same kind of safety that my mother provided me. So my question is for you, why is having a kind of family or family essential for young queer youth of color?
Suicide rates. A lot of queer young people, the more that they have been rejected, the more likely that they are to end up taking their own life. And that's not something that we want to be known about the queer community is, oh, they have that many suicides? It should be more about, oh, they've done so much to grow instead of how much we have struggled.
So personally for me, on my own journey, I never had that sort of guidance that most queer youth of color or just trans youth of color that would want, because as you grow up, especially during high school, that was the time when I'm trying to identify myself, find out who I am. And I think it's really important because when we go through that phase, it's really difficult for us to go alone without that sense of not even direct guidance, but more of that you're doing fine. You don't need to know who you are right now. It's okay if you don't know.
Yeah, I know for me, I transitioned when I was 11. So I was in middle school, I was in 6th grade, and I didn't transition until halfway through the year. And it was a really intense experience for me through that year. I know that when I was in school, it was really tough and people didn't really look at me and really accept me in the ways that I wanted them to. And so halfway through that year, I think it was in April of my 6th grade year, we started the groups that we do now. And I know that being able to go and do that and like know that I had a family of people that were like, we get you and we understand like what you're going through. And like, I know that you just did this, and I can totally relate to that because this happened to me like this week too. And like just being able to talk about stuff like that is really great. Also because I don't have really the best relationship with my own blood family. So I know that just having other queer folks, especially that really got me and really understood me, is really good. And I think so often we see that the amount of trans and just queer murders in general are trans women of color. And I think it's really important to find a support system for yourself.
So when I was in middle school, again, which wasn't that long ago, I got caught cutting class and don't cut class. And it was this NTA. I don't even know if they still have NTAs as non-teaching assistant, which was before public schools were institutionalized with police. There were these adults that were like, would kind of fill that role. And it was this tall Puerto Rican guy who was also a bouncer at a club. Anyway, I'm like cutting class with my other queer friend, I'm like in the 6th grade. And of course we were cutting class because we got teased in classes. You know, we knew to cut gym. We knew to cut whatever class had a substitute teacher. All the other classmates felt safe in because by the middle of the school year, the teachers either know how to not defend you, but figure out a way to move on with the class. Anyway, so we're cutting the class for safety. And I remember him calling us. He called us in the hallway and he was like, yo, come here. And I remember thinking, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna get in trouble. They're gonna call my mother. And we go and like, we're both shaking. He's like, are y'all gay? And then I was like, I remember thinking like, I don't know where this is gonna go. And I was like, I don't know. And he says, okay, but if you are, don't let anybody make you feel ashamed about yourself. Be proud of who you are. And I remember walking away like, what the heck just happened, right? Because I totally did anticipate that. I thought we were going to get in trouble. So is there a moment where an adult in your life, maybe someone you knew or didn't know that provided you some support or said something encouraging to you that helped to sustain you to get to the next step?
So before I transitioned, right before my 11th birthday, I was really, really suicidal and I wasn't doing well in my own life. And I had been talking to my mom about it, and she was really worried and concerned about me. So she ended up trying to find a therapist. She ended up coming across someone named Jane Heenan, who is actually the director of gender justice, and is really the biggest reason that I ended up getting involved with the organization in the first place. So I started seeing Jane for therapy, and I started seeing them and talking to them about how I was feeling. And you know, my mom would come into the sessions, and they would say he, and they would do different things. And Jane finally stood up for me in that session and said, you know, every time you say he, I can just see like them cringe, like I can just see them like just tense up. And I was just, but I had a really big need to please my mom, and like I think that every kid does. No kid wants to like disappoint their mother. And so for me being so young, I was just like, oh, it's fine, Mom, it's totally fine, I'll just go with that. And so Jane was like, no, I'm gonna call you she. Like, I'm gonna call you she. And like, you know, you don't have to for now, but like, I'm gonna call you she. And through that, over the last 6 years now, I've known Jane, and Jane has become such a humongous mentor and just loving person in my life. And I've gotten to learn so much from Jane. I've gotten to do so many amazing things with Jane, and they really have just become someone in my life that I really feel like I can depend on, and that really is just great for me. And now my mom actually works for Gender Justice and does a lot of work with them. She is just such a light in my life, and I just appreciate her so much.
It was 2 years ago, I think. I was like 15. Yes, I was 15. Sophomore high school. That's when like I took the public bus to school. So it was one day after school. I know. The worst. So it was actually one day after school, and it was actually a really funny story because it was like December and it was cold, but you know, in Vegas it's not that cold, but it's cold for me. It's really cold for me.
Well, it was like 89.
It was like 87. I said anything below 88, I can't do. But I got on the bus, and so this is like, you know, I was like, okay, like, you know, I know I'm queer, I know I'm gay, like, I know this now. And so I remember the stop before I got off like to walk to my house. There was this one guy who just got on the bus and was like, he had his earphones and he was just singing. And so this guy, he sits like near the front row, and so we make eye contact. First, I don't know why we did, but we just made eye contact. And so he sees me, and I'm over here just like, just waiting, legs crossed. I'm just sitting, I'm just chilling. And so then he gets up like as the bus rolls, and he sits like in the seat like adjacent from me. And he was like, "Are you gay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And he's like, "Oh, that's cool. Me too." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then the funniest thing, he said, "Hey." I was like, "Okay." And so what happened then was he asked them the question that sort of like mind-boggled me, was like, "Did you come out yet?" And I was like, "Well, technically, no." And he was like, "You know what? And that's fine." And so then we had a conversation, and so like the whole thing that I took from it was more of like, what I got was like, I had no obligation to come out to anyone. And I know that we had a conversation where like for other people it's so profound for their identities, and like, it's like a huge revelation for them that when they come out, because that's their step. But for me, I found that I really don't owe anyone that obligation to come out. If I want to come out, I am allowed to come out. But if people would ask me like, are you queer, are you gay? I'd be like, well, yeah, I am. And so that's why whenever I go into any space, whether I'm in the street, at school, anywhere, I'm just unapologetically myself, because after seeing what he's done and the energy that he really sort of exuded, I was like, I want to be like that guy. And so I never saw him again. It was only that one incident after the bus stop, but it really shaped like how I saw the world.
How about you, Lily?
Okay.
Riding any public buses, speaking to strangers?
Before we start, Mama, can I say the phrase that you tell me?
Say whatever you want, babe.
Okay. All right. The person who probably helped me the most was my mom, and she's always said this phrase, it's to be a free ass. And I love that phrase. It's great. It makes me so happy every time she says it. And that just really helped me. That phrase, just when people are like asking me strange questions and I'm like, I don't know if I should tell you because I don't really know you. Like I got asked today, are you bi? And I'm like, we're gonna steer away from that topic for now.
So I know that you all three are doing amazing things, and while it may seem like you're just watching adults, I know for sure that other young people are watching you. Maybe and maybe there's the young person on the bus who hasn't asked you the question, but they're watching you be carefree. Maybe there's someone watching you and your mother interact, or maybe watching you interact with your mother that's saying like, wow, maybe that's possible for me and my family. So for the young people who are watching this, what would be your message?
That you do not owe anyone anything, that you do not owe anyone the right to know your personal information, you don't owe anyone the right to know how you identify, and that your power is your power. And that if you are in a place where you are questioning your identity, whether it be sexuality or gender identity, I think just owning that and knowing that that is for me.
Most definitely. Honestly, like at least from what I've learned, at least from the bus stop interaction, it's more of like, do things on your own terms. Mm-hmm. There is this is not a race. Life isn't a race, obviously. And so like, when,
I think it is.
Right. And when you are, finding your own identity, you're trying to figure out who you are, you're allowed to take your time. You can take as much time as you want.
First thing is be kind to yourself. It's really easy to just start like ending up hating yourself for who you are because the whole world is saying that you're wrong, and it's just really hard to get out of that space if you're in that position. Another thing is, again, you don't owe anyone anything. Coming out is absolutely not a requirement, and it doesn't change your identity if you are out or if you're not. And being closeted does not mean you're ashamed. You can still be so proud of who you are and still be in the closet.
All right, I want to thank y'all for sharing this time and space with me. And I can't wait to see all the amazing things you're going to do in the future. I know that you're doing stuff now, but I can't wait to see 10 years from now when you're like leading this country and are stars with your own YouTube show. Like I said, I knew them when. So, all right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, this is cute. Louie. Oh, hey. Well, I want to thank you for watching Kiki's with me, Louie. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like and subscribe down below. And I want to hear your thoughts and experiences on this topic. So drop a comment, let's keep the Kikis going.